Don't fix that typo. Wait, resist the urge. This is exactly what I told a client years ago. Our client had sent out an email to their list, to their invite list, to an event that they were having. Now, the event was, hey, come to our Book of Lusts party. What? Who doesn't want to go to that? Exactly. Now, what they meant to send out was come to our Book of Lists party. They put out these lists of top lists, top uh, high tech company, top CPA company, and they would put out these lists. Book of Lists is so much better. What a gift that was. So I told them, you're not going to do anything. Ooh, this camera. Speaking of which, this camera is like, ooh, there we go. See, that's a gift. That's exactly how fortuitous. Just like I told them, when you get handed a gift, a mistake, an error, something happens beyond, resist the temptation at first to fix it, apologize profusely, and act like it didn't happen. Now, sure, if it's an accident, like, you stepped on somebody's toes, obviously, yes. But when you make a creative mistake, it can be a gift. It can actually be a gift. And that's where the humor and mistakes can be your superpower for creativity. That's where innovation lives. So I know it was hard for them to resist the urge, but they did. And here's what happened. They sold out. They had never had such high attendance on their event because who doesn't want to go to a Book of Lust party? The emails they were getting back were crazy. And I said, trust me, write it out. And they're glad they did. Sometimes mistakes happen. Like I say, these can be the gateway to big, creative, innovative things. Now, here's the thing. Recently, I did some work for the Social Security Administration, and we all know what happened earlier this year. Heads rolled at the top of the organization. There's so much uncertainty. There's fear. Do I have a job? How am I going to serve my customers, the millions of Americans who depend on what we do? And when I walked in for a keynote and a workshop, what they didn't need was a 7 point plan. What they didn't need was platitudes. What they needed was to laugh. They needed catharsis. They needed to acknowledge where they're at and how hard it was at. And then when we did that, then we could get on with coming up with new stories and new narratives for how they want to move forward. So, laughter and just admitting that things are hard is the gateway to really amazing innovation. Can you imagine me walking in with platitudes? Well, people are feared for their jobs. And we're seeing so much of that today. And that's not going to go away. We have to work with the fear, with mistakes when they're gifts. Not all are, some are. And resist the urge to try to control everything and just deal with things where they're at. Another way mistakes can be gifts, look at improv. I spent a lot of years, not just in Silicon Valley tech, but doing improv and stand up, which I still do. I was thinking of SNL recently. One of my favorite things is when Timothy Chalamet hosts because he breaks character all the time. And it's joyful and it's fun. And it's like everybody else, it's contagious. Everybody else in the cast starts laughing and they're all breaking character. And it's so hilarious. It's the best part. It is the best part. They're having fun. Great things happen when we let our guard down, we make mistakes, we embrace it. We're not so worried about showing up imperfect. The moral of the story, everybody, allow the imperfection because when you embrace imperfection, that's where the good stuff is. Another example recently was when Bowen Yang did Dobby the Elf, and he had that malfunction. A wardrobe. It was drab. He had a wardrobe malfunction, and he just laughed at it and worked it into the sketch. Hadn't planned on it, but he was like, "Yeah, well, these clothes aren't made very well." Just so, and then they were like trying to fix it. It just made the comedy even better. So there's many ways that you can do this. And I know sometimes it's just starting somewhere. So think about ritualizing imperfection in your teams or in your life and how you can actually have like a failure party or have a 10-minute failure session every week where you go around the room and what'd you fail at? What'd you learn? What'd you fail at? What'd you learn? And you start to normalize failure as part of the process. Not so scary. People made a mistake. So what? We learn from the mistakes. And that's an amazing and important part of growth. is making the mistakes. So you can do little things, just laugh at it, admit a failure, normalize it with a failure sesh. There's many ways to do it. And in this week's newsletter, that's what it's all about. So don't fix the typo. Ask yourself, step back. Is it funny? Is it better than what I tried to say? Is the imperfection really a gift in disguise? Not always, but sometimes yes. And that's really important because embracing imperfection is how leaders allow innovation to happen and how you allow it to happen in your own life. So there you go. Let me know what you liked. Drop me a line. Tell me what you're working on. You got a story? Share it. I want to know. All right.